Today, we reopening the time capsule to find out what really happened to the brands that once ruled America. Borders was once a premier book retailer, but it was not able to keep up with the technological changes of the 2000s. This was a time when readers were switching to e-books, and Borders was focusing on growing their CD and DVD department. The company kept building new stores despite lacking a solid digital or online plan. At one point, they even outsourced their online sales to Amazon. By 2011, their stores were shut down, and the history book on this retail giant was closed forever. Pan American World Airways. Pan American World Airways was founded in 1927, and they once dominated international travel with their airline business. This company had a high-tech, computerized global reservation system that revolutionized air travel across the Atlantic and the Pacific. But sadly, they are no longer around. F.W. Woolworth became one of America's most iconic retail stores during its 117-year existence. It began as a five-and-dime store in Utica, New York in 1879, and eventually grew into a retail giant that spanned 21 states, and even into Canada, Great Britain, and Germany. In their later years, Woolworth struggled to stay relevant as shopping malls and other chain stores grew in popularity. In 1997, the iconic store closed all of their locations for good. Toys R Us. At one time, Toys R Us was the largest toy retailer. Kids everywhere dreamed of going in there and shopping for their favorite toy. But billions of dollars of debt and changing retail habits put an end to Toys R Us. They struggled with increasing competition from large discount stores like Walmart and Target. Then, when Amazon came around, it seemed to be the nail in the coffin. They had a mountain of debt when they leveraged a buyout in 2005, but when they filed for bankruptcy in 2017, it forced them to shutter all the stores the following year. There have been several attempts to bring this toy retailer back, but it has not been easy for them. Time will tell whether or not this iconic store will ever be successful again. Blockbuster became the largest video rental store in the United States. Even if you never went there, you still knew who they were. They prided themselves on having a huge collection of movies, but their versions were sometimes different. The company was known for being against violence and other mature content, so big-hit movies often had blockbuster cuts, especially in the VHS era. Over the years, movie rentals became increasingly popular through places like Redbox and Netflix. Blockbuster failed to move into these markets, which meant an eventual end for them. Dish acquired the company in 2011, and by 2013, the last remaining corporate-owned store had closed. Today, there is one Blockbuster franchise still open, located in Bend, Oregon. Tower Records. Tower Records became the mega music store, the place to go when you were looking for something by a specific artist or band. This store began in Sacramento, California in 1960, and they were known for their extensive music stock and well-informed clerks. The company eventually expanded across the country and worldwide, but in the process they also accumulated a lot of debt. When digital music and downloading sites like iTunes became popular, it meant the end. Tower Records filed for bankruptcy in 2006. Compaq was a short-lived computer company that lasted from 1982 to 2002. However, during that time, they became hugely popular, and a leading supplier of personal computers throughout the 1990s. In 2002, Hewlett-Packard acquired the company, and they continued to sell some systems under the Compaq name until it was discontinued in 2013. Oldsmobile was one of the oldest American car brands, famous for several iconic models. The company was founded by Ransom E. Olds in 1897, and in 1901, the first Oldsmobile debuted with a curved dash. In 1909, General Motors acquired the brand and targeted it toward middle-income Americans. Oldsmobile remained popular for decades, and the Oldsmobile Cutlass was the best-selling car in America during the 1980s. But by 2000, sales were declining. The last Oldsmobile, an Alero, rolled off the assembly line in 2004. Howard Johnson's became instantly recognizable to travelers thanks to its signature orange roof. Tons of families made pit stops there through much of the 20th century to enjoy a consistent menu and reasonable prices. The restaurant began outside of Boston in 1925, when Howard Deering Johnson opened an ice cream stand. They reached their peak during the 1970s, with more than 1,000 locations across the country, and over 500 of them included motor lodges that began in the 1950s. During the 1980s, the chain was sold to Marriott, and the restaurants were gradually closed. A single franchise location remained open until 2017. Sears. At one time, Sears was America's top-selling store. They became famous for their catalogs, which offered just about everything you could ever want. But in recent years, the once iconic store has struggled to stay relevant in today's retail market. Today, there are only about a dozen locations left, and their future remains very much uncertain. Montgomery Ward. Montgomery Ward was another company very similar to Sears, and in fact, they did it first. Founded in Chicago in 1872, Montgomery Ward's catalog business began before Sears. By 1883, their catalog had grown to 240 pages and 10,000 items. In 1896, Sears became their first major competitor. In 1908, Montgomery Ward opened a 1.25 million square foot building, nearly a quarter-mile long along the Chicago River, which served as the company's headquarters. From there, the company expanded across the U.S. In 1985, they closed their catalog business after 113 years in operation and began renovating their stores. Unfortunately, that move wasn't enough to save them. The retail chain ceased operations in 2001. In 2004, the brand name was purchased and reused for some small mail-order catalogs as well as an online presence. Today, you can still find the name Montgomery Ward, even on Amazon, but it's a completely different company than what people knew before 2001. For many of us, these brands weren't just stores or logos. They were part of growing up. Their jingles played in the background of our childhoods. Their aisles were where we wandered, dreamed, and discovered. Even if you never bought from them, you probably remember the feeling they gave you, the excitement of flipping through a Sears catalog, or the joy of walking into a Toys R Us. They weren't just businesses. They were bookmarks in time, pieces of a world that's changed. Which one do you miss the most? Share your memories in the comments. We'd love to hear them. And as always, thank you for watching and remembering with us.